Yes, sir. Wind down Wednesday. Hey, Lavender.
Hello, Vernon. Oh,
Woo! Hey, Lavender.
what's up, Vernon? What's up?
How is it going, sugar?
It's going. It's going. You know, I noticed you call female sugar. Is that because you can't remember our names, or you afraid of calling us the wrong name?
No, because they're sweet.
Because what?
No, because they're all are sweet.
Oh shoot, that don't even sound like me.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I call y'all sugar.
So we all got the same name, huh?
Yeah. So how you been doing this week, sugar?
Busy. I'm trying to get the next issue of the Other Woman magazine out. My deadline to have everything finished and to the next phase is the end of the month. So I have been working.
All righty then.
What
I'm
about
seeing
you?
your audio. I've been doing fine. Your audio sounds a little muddled to me, but sometimes it's hard for me to understand what you're saying. So, but
Can you hear
we'll
me?
get it. We'll get it worked out some kind of a way, sugar.
Well, hopefully it's not a rewind, a replay of last week.
You said this always put you in a good mood. Let me put this for you. All right, you in a good mood?
Now, see, I didn't hear that. I hear it
You
barely.
you
But you know,
said
what you do
okay.
on VMix, we don't hear on StreamYard. But anyway, let's just get past that, okay? Let's just move on because I don't
Ah,
really
see okay, that's what that's okay. I see you. You probably you listen at StreamYard. You ain't listen at VMix. I see. That's
no, it
probably the
doesn't
problem.
matter.
But
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That's the same issue that we had before. My guess, you won't see my guess if I use StreamYard. It just didn't work that way.
okay, well, but anyway, what we're gonna talk about today?
You know what? We did so much. We did so much testing and stuff. I believe that our topic was vulnerability, being vulnerable in love. And you know what, Vernon? You had me turn my fan off. It is hot as heck up in here.
Mm-hmm.
Lord have mercy. Being vulnerable.
You
What are you
still there
looking
with me,
for?
Lavender?
Huh? What are you looking for, Vernon?
Okay, I'm gonna let you talk for a minute because I just lost
Okay.
connection
So
with you,
being
sugar. But
vulnerable.
anyway,
Shit.
that's gonna be a line out.
Can you hear me, Vernon?
All right, you back now?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so being vulnerable is putting yourself in a position to be open, to be exposed, to be rejected.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Laverne, can you hear me before you jump off? What does our audio sound like? Does it sound like crappy? Can you please let me know? Vernon, say something. Vernon?
I'm here. I'm
Vernon.
here. Go ahead, sugar. I'm talking. Can you
Okay,
hear me?
they're going to give us some feedback on our audio.
Okay.
Vernon, say something, please.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Are you hearing me?
I hear you now. Okay, so being vulnerable, you're putting yourself out there. You are actually putting yourself at risk of being rejected, of being judged, being disappointed, because you're letting all of your emotions show. You're letting your face, your true face, be shown, your emotions, your feelings, everything is out there.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, can you be vulnerable?
Well, what do you mean when you what do you mean when saying Are we vulnerable? What does that really mean?
I just explained it. Did you not? Were you not listening? I just
I
gave
would
you this long
listen to you say, Lavender, but I need you to explain the other word. Break it down to me, to my level. You talk so sophisticated. Bring it down to burnt corn level. When you saying vulnerable, what do you mean? I mean being hurt. Break it down to me. What do you mean?
vulnerable. You're showing your heart.
Okay.
You're exposing your feelings.
Uh
You're
huh.
expressing your needs. You're putting
Mm-hmm.
it all out there. You're actually allowing yourself, you're putting yourself at risk to be disappointed, to be judged, because you're not holding anything back. All of your emotions are out there.
Okay.
So in a relationship, are you able to be vulnerable in your relationship? Are you able to express your feelings and to say how you feel? To say, I love you, I miss you, or I need you? Because when you open yourself up and let yourself be exposed like that, that's when you're at risk for the comeback or the response that you might not want to get.
Mm.
So,
Okay.
did you hear me that time?
So if you did do, so what? I mean, we all human, and I think sometimes everybody try to protect themselves from, I guess, wanting to be hurt. But can you really do that in relationship? Sometimes that's the recipe of just to be hurt. You know, that if you're gonna be in love, you might as well prepare to be hurt. Because it's just part
Exactly.
of the
Being
game.
vulnerable in a relationship, it means allowing your partner to know you fully. They know your thoughts, your feelings, your weaknesses. It can be scary to show that side of you
Mhm.
to your partners out of fear of being judged, but that is what psychologists and relationship experts say. That's how true intimacy is
Uh-huh.
achieved.
Well, is that bad? Is that bad?
Is it what?
Is that bad?
Well, it's not bad or good. It's actually a choice. If someone wants to be vulnerable, or if they can even attempt to be vulnerable. Everybody doesn't have that. It's not as easy for everyone to expose their thoughts and feelings as it is for some people. Some people shut
Now,
down.
okay. All right. Okay. You know me. I'm gonna argue the point. Why is that? Is it because people let the pride get in the way? You know, I think everybody is vulnerable to any degree. Okay, to any degree. So, but Are you saying to me is that the reason people shouldn't? Are you saying that we shouldn't let that happen, or are you saying that it is inevitable that it's going to happen? But what do we do about it? Should we try to prevent it or not prevent it? I think it's good to, just like crying sometimes. Okay, folks tell you to be a man, don't cry, but God made us to cry for a reason. It let out some of those pent up penetration. I think. In So, is it something like that?
It could be very similar to that. Crying. Crying is an emotion. Being vulnerable is expressing your emotions, your feelings, your thoughts. A lot of people shut down and keep that stuff, keep those emotions and those thoughts to themselves because of what you said, fear of rejection, fear of being judged. Like you mentioned, crying. What you crying for? If it's a man, you're weak if you're crying. So being vulnerable, showing tears might not be a wise thing for some men, where some men are very sensitive and just really don't care if they, shed a tear or show how sensitive or fragile they are. But surprisingly, women like when men, well, it's basically communicating. We like it when you
Hmm.
communicate your feelings, your thoughts, and your emotions with us. But the flip side of that, Vernon, is that people can take advantage of it. Once they know how you feel about them or what your weaknesses are, they can play on those. And that's the sad part about it. You know, it's like you can't open up because people will use that against you. Okay, well, she feel that way about me. Oh, okay, I know I got him now. I can act a fool. But that's when it gets dangerous, when you take advantage of someone's emotions.
Mm, okay. Well, okay, I see where you're coming from there, but mm,
That's not me now. That's the word vulnerability. That's the word. It's not a yes or no thing. Some people are able to be vulnerable. They got pros and cons of being vulnerable, but that would be an individual thing also. But experts say that being vulnerable is the key to true intimacy. Because if you can't open up and express yourself, they will never have an opportunity to truly know who you are. We show who we want people to know. I don't have a problem being vulnerable. It actually frees me to share with someone how I feel about them. It frees me. You know, we had a conversation about this not too long ago. Bert, why can't we just, what are we afraid of? Why do we let pride get in the way? You know, life is short. So what
right.
difference does it make? You know, we got the
Uh-huh.
COVID going on. People can't get to each other like they want to. You know, it's just put a new spin on how you relate to people. So it's like, what is the big deal? Why can't we be vulnerable with one another? But it could be from past relationships, being judged before, being hurt. I personally don't care. You know, hey, it's like I'm putting it out there on the table. You abused it, that's your loss. I'm free. What about you? Can you be
Uh,
vulnerable?
say again.
Can you be vulnerable in relationship?
Me personally, are you
Yes, in
asking
your
me that
marriage, are
person?
you
Yeah,
vulnerable?
I mean, sure, you could be vulnerable. I think though, vulnerability, like you said earlier, kind of shows weakness. Okay, and
Wait a
nobody.
minute. It kind of shows weakness. I see it as a strength. So it's all about perception. It's all about perception because I feel I am strong enough and know who I am where it doesn't matter if I'm vulnerable or what the response is. I know who I am. I know my strength. So somebody else like you called it a weakness. And
Okay,
you may be one.
okay, Lavender, hang on, oh, hang on,
Okay,
Lavender,
go
hang
ahead.
on. Okay, you might. Okay, I'm glad you very confident in yourself. But, but the here, let me help you. Yeah. Okay. But anyway, let me help you laugh. Okay, but anyhow, the vulnerability, if I know what I perceive as your weaknesses, right? I could use those to my advantage against you, okay? And that's what makes you vulnerable. If you vulnerable to fall in love or you vulnerable for whatever it may be, I can, if I know your vulnerabilities, can I, isn't it very easy for me to use those vulnerabilities against you? You're trying to say you know who you are and that we can't use them, that I can't hurt you with.
It's very easy. It's very easy. Now here's where Lavenda comes in. If we're in
Okay.
a relationship and I'm vulnerable and I show you and share my thoughts and feelings and you use it against me, bye bye, brother. You know, I put myself out there. I gave you my heart. You want to use it and abuse it, you showed me who you are. So that's why I enjoy the vulnerability part. Show me who you are. You can't handle
I,
knowing that you're
no,
loved and
I'm going to
admired.
send my, I'm going to send my representative, Lavender. I'm going to send my representative. That's why you cannot. I'm telling you, that's why I can use it against you because I'm not going to let you know if I'm you. If I guess the question is whether or not if somebody trying to use somebody else, somebody to their disadvantage, okay? If you're not trying to use anybody, then it really doesn't matter, don't you think? So if
Right.
you're
If you're in a
trying to use
relationship,
somebody,
always going to
then the
use somebody.
vulnerabilities come in.
Why are you trying to use someone anyway? Why?
You shouldn't. People do, but you got to understand that people do that. Okay, that's what we have in this show. We want folks at least to be on guard. We don't want folks like you so confident that they know that these people cannot. You don't believe that they can use your vulnerabilities against you, but they can, and so you got to be very careful about how you show your vulnerabilities to folks.
That's
Okay,
a
it's
choice,
okay.
Bernie. That's a
And,
choice. And be careful. You said you got to be careful about showing your vulnerability. Some people are vulnerable anyway. That's their nature. They don't think about it. So it's not about being careful about being vulnerable and who you're being vulnerable to. You got to be who you are. You have to be who you are because I believe at the beginning of a relationship, now everybody's different. That's the time to be vulnerable. Because look, at my age, I don't have any time to waste. Don't waste my freaking time. If I'm going to put my emotions and thoughts, you trying to get to know me, and I'm letting you know how I feel, and you decide to play with them, I know then not to spend another minute on you. I don't have time for that. Shoot, I'll be freaking 80 and then I'm gonna find somebody to be vulnerable with. Don't waste my time. So it's important for me to show vulnerability at the jump because you can play
mhm,
games all day. Who's got time for that crap? That's high
yeah.
school stuff. But you're right. I've noticed the older some men get, the more games they like to play. And that's sad.
Mhm.
So they will probably never experience an intimate relation, a true intimate relationship because they cannot accept or appreciate being vulnerable.
Okay, you, I don't know. I don't know what I agree with you or not because you sounding like it's a good thing to be vulnerable. I don't think it's a good thing.
It's not a good or bad thing. It's a choice. This is not a
Well, it's not a
word.
choice. No, I don't. Well, you just said a while ago. I don't know whether it's a choice to be vulnerable or not vulnerable. I think some people are vulnerable and they don't know that they're vulnerable. Okay, only I know that you're vulnerable because I know how I can manipulate you and I know what your vulnerabilities are. But some people don't know that they're vulnerable. Like
Well,
you
you
don't probably know
know
some
what the
like
word
like you
means.
probably don't know some of your vulnerability. You think you know all of your vulnerabilities?
I don't think it's easy to be objective about ourselves. Some people may not even know. Maybe we should have put the definition up there. Some people, you said some people might not know that they're vulnerable. Some people might not even know what being vulnerable is. So, vulnerability, you are expressing or showing your thoughts, your emotions, your feelings. Basically,
Okay.
you are putting yourself at risk to be
Hmm.
judged, to be rejected. Basically, that's what you're doing. So it does take a little courage to be vulnerable, but you're right. Some people don't know that they're being vulnerable.
Okay. But you don't agree with me that people can use your
Oh,
vulnerabilities against you?
definitely. Oh, definitely. There's some cruel people
Okay.
out there. Yeah. Oh, yeah. But
So
don't you think that being vulnerable, how would you know the character of that person? You know what I'm saying? So you're going to hold back how you really feel because you're afraid or to protect yourself from being hurt or being used, but you will never know that person's character if you don't do it.
okay, let me ask you this then. Okay. Give you a scenario. Now I've seen this happen too with people in relationships. Okay, now for an example, because society has a lot to do with this, Lavender. Society has a very lot to do with this. We perceive men. Okay, I cut your mic off for 1 second so I because I hear all that background noise, but I we perceive society perceive men sometimes as as strong, the strength of a thing. And I think some women do too. Now, when some women, okay, see men cry, see the softer side, okay. of a man, they make judgments. Okay, they make judgments about them. If he cries over her, or if he cries, I guess she's appeared to look at. I know a woman said to me one time, "I don't want no man that cries. He's too soft. He's too weak. He's not gonna be able to protect me and defend me because he's gonna cry to every little thing. I don't want to do that." So, what do you say to those folks, Lavender, that looks at the softer side, say, of a man? I'm thinking of a man now because we expect women to cry. Okay, from a typical point of view, we expect women to cry, and we don't think twice about it. But you see a man cry. You saw that thing I sent you the other night, right? On that commercial,
Yes,
is that guy crying because on that commercial
yes,
where
yes,
he
yes,
says, "I
yes.
thought you loved me." He was just a boo-hooing. So some women don't like that stuff like that. They said, "If you cry in front of me, you done."
Yeah,
Now,
yeah, you're right. They want the macho, that ego-filled man, that manly man. If you cry, you show a little, you're sensitive, your Michael Jackson side, you're too weak and, man up and all this stuff. But those are those type of women. Not some women appreciate a man that will express himself. You know, I mean, I look at you all as little boys in adult bodies. I really do. So to cry, and what did Mama do? She either said, brush it off, you okay, get up, stop crying, be a big boy, or some of would say, let you cry. But 9 times out of 10, I mean, I know I did for my boys. If they cried, they cried. You get over it. Okay, it's time to shut it up now. You got it out, stop, and get on with it. Because that's life. You're going to always be hurt. But I want them to be free to express their emotions, but don't be a wimp about it. Enough is enough.
okay. Hold on. You don't be a what about it.
A wimp.
See, see, you,
No,
you making my
no,
point. You
with
making
their
my point. Why don't you just let them cry all day?
No, I said let them get their emotions out. Be free to show your emotions, but you're not gonna waddle in it. Yeah, I gave you a time frame. Shut the hell up. Let's go. Brush it off. Let's go.
But suppose. Hold on, Lavender. Suppose he is that type that he wants to wallow in it. He's so suppose he's so vulnerable that he just can't get over it. And now you said cry a little bit and get it out and be a man about it and go on. But suppose he can't get past it.
Okay, now we were
Then,
talking
then,
about
then, now
boys.
and now you're judging him and calling him a wimp.
We were talking about little boys. Are we talking older, teenagers,
No, you can't say it now. Men ain't nothing but little boy grown up.
right?
Okay, so
I
what's the
haven't
difference?
seen a grown man act like that, Vernon. Unless you have. I haven't seen a grown man cry and can't get over it. Where is he at? You said, what if? What if? I haven't seen that man.
I don't know. I probably plenty of them out there. I've seen plenty of them out there that cries and act like they can't get over it. I've seen it before. And then 9 times out of 10 it's over some crazy ass woman.
Okay, well, not boo-hoo cry, but just be in their emotions, be in their feelings. But what is wrong with that? I believe you
Nothing.
all love and hurt a little bit
I
more
know.
and
I
harder than
know.
me.
I know. I know. Nothing is wrong with it. That's what I'm saying now. If the example you were using, I know this is an example, okay? You let your boys cry for a while and let them cry it out. Okay, what you consider crying it out to your definition of crying, but it might not to his definition. You might say
Right.
cry for half an hour, and he might want to cry all day.
Oh,
And you say,
shit.
hell no. You
Shoot.
see,
Oh, no, absolutely not. Uh-uh.
now he's vulnerable. Come on, Lavender. He's a vulnerable
Well,
little boy
thank
crying
goodness,
because he's got his heart busted.
thank goodness I didn't have to deal with that. I wouldn't know how to deal with that. I probably would have taken him to the doctor.
Okay. Again, you typify what I'm talking about. Okay. You typify exactly what I'm talking about. Why can't you just accept him being that vulnerable?
Bernie, you said cry all day. Come on, let's be realistic
Yeah,
about it. If you're gonna cry all day about something, now identify
yeah.
all day. It's
That
24
means
hours.
that means you really. To me, that tells me it really was near and dear to you. Okay, if you're gonna cry all day about it.
All day, Bernie, come on, let's move to the
Yeah.
next part. Ain't nobody crying all day. Ain't nobody crying all day. Now, if you're hurt,
And you're the one that brought the subject up about vulnerabilities, and it's okay. I think it's okay. Let them cry all day. What's wrong with that?
Bernie, you wouldn't let anybody,
Be
you
vulnerable to cry.
let your daughters cry all day. I can hear
Yeah,
you now. Shut the hell up. Shut that shit. Da, 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 da. You would not allow anybody to cry all day. Shoot, your little 5-year-old
I can't.
grandson. You try to control him. He come in and want to speak to me. Hey, going out here. Let him be vulnerable. He's trying to be friendly. You try to control people.
Lavenda, I'm not talking about him. You trying to control. That's what we're talking about. Let them be them. If I didn't shut up my little grandson, he'll be crying all day, right? I had to shut him up. Shut up, boy, if I give you something to cry about. His daddy, mama would say. My mom would say. So, but we try to shut him up. Same thing we do with other people. Eventually, if I didn't tell that little 5-year-old to shut up, he eventually cry himself out. But the reason he doesn't cry himself out because I cut it off. Shut up, not another whimper out of you. So I cut it off. But I should just let him cry himself out. Now it's the same thing with the matter affair of the heart. If a person wants to cry, it's not to our extent to where they want to cry. They don't cry until they get it all out of the system. They may
You're
have
right.
because you shut
You're
them up.
right.
You shut them up. That don't mean to cry it out.
You're right, Bernie. And you know what? When you say cry it out, I'm thinking tears. Cry it out could just be the pain that they feel and waddling in the pain and can't get over it. Now,
Right.
Sandra Winborn, she says she's never seen a man cry over a woman unless it's his mother. I've seen plenty of men cry over their wife or significant other, and they hurt. The heart is a heart. It doesn't have gender. Emotions are emotions. They may. Who is it that has that book, Men Cry in the Dark? They may not show it, but men
Mm-hmm.
cry also. They just may not be as free to show it, show their emotions as a woman would.
Lavenda, you know what? You know what's interesting about this? I
What?
knew, I knew a lady. Still know this lady, right? And she wrote this book, one of the first books she ever written about. What's the name of the title of that book called? Crying in Silence or something like that. What was it? What was your name of your first book that you wrote,
It's
Lavenda?
Snap in Silence.
Huh? Snap in Silence. Isn't that about the same kind of thing? Now, anybody can be an expert on that. You should be an expert on it because you wrote a damn book. You wrote a book on the damn subject because you just don't want to kill anybody in silence. You just want to kill them. But most folks killing is maybe crying it out, or maybe are going in seclusion, or maybe it's going into a mild depression. Okay, maybe how I don't know how you define snap in silence, but it's the same kind of thing. You just use a different term, but
It's similar.
isn't it the same? Wouldn't that be the
It's
same thing?
it's it's similar, but I thought we were talking about the vulnerability in love, sharing your
Right.
thoughts, emotions, and how you feel about someone. The snap in silence was in a 10, 15-year marriage as a wife, as a mother, and dealing with life and trying to be strong and trying to, yeah, I guess so, hide what you're really feeling and put your big girl panties on and deal with life and all that comes with it. But
Right.
I thought we were talking about the softer side of love. You want to talk about we snap in silence? We can go there, but I think that's another show. But you know, think about when you were falling in love or in love.
Yeah,
One of the
I
best,
can remember.
one of the best feelings in the world. And
Oh
don't
yeah,
you just want to share? Yeah, keep doing that. Keep
and
doing
let
what.
those feelings last forever. See, like me, I got these feelings. They're lasting forever. Go ahead.
Yes. And don't you want to express how you feel? You've got all those wonderful emotions bottled up inside. It feels good to let it out. Just let it out. But it's not easy for everyone. A lot of people have problems communicating, period. They
Yeah.
certainly won't be vulnerable. But
But you know what the problem is, don't you? Though, right?
what?
The the problem is women, in my estimation, okay, in my opinion, women won't allow that. Some women will. Man, deference to my 80-20 rule, Lavender. Some women will, okay? But most women don't expect a man to be, they associate crying with weakness. And so they don't want their man to be weak. They always want a Superman. They don't want a Clark Kent. They want a Superman. And so when he starts showing his emotions, then they have issues with that. Am I right?
Some women do. Yeah.
Some women.
Some women do. Yeah. And you know
More
what?
than more than I think more than not. Okay, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this question, okay? How many times did you see your unhusband cry?
A few times.
How many times you made him cry?
Yeah.
Ah!
Never,
Okay,
never,
so
never.
I'm talking about outside of your mama dying and family tragedy and stuff like that. I'm talking about issues. I'm talking about crying because of emotional pain as opposed to something tragic happens. How many times have you seen that with your unhusband or any man that you
Thank you, because I
involved
really want to talk about the unhusband, any man. Let me think about. It's very rare, unless it was some occurrence.
with? Okay. Can I ask you
That,
another question? Okay. All right. If you saw your daddy, I know just from the implications that I know about a little bit about your daddy, I don't think he was a crying man. Okay. I think that if you saw your daddy crying out of the weakness of his heart, whether we saw weakness, I mean crying from the affair of the heart, how would you judge him?
you know what? And you may not believe this, but out of all the men that I've seen cry, I've seen my father cry more.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
And that may be why I see it as a strength in men to have the courage to share and express your emotions. Now, here's this big master chief in the Navy, but there was that softer side of him. But what's that phrase that you always use, Vernon? Who you were is who you are is
Who
who
you
you will
are,
be.
no, who you are is where you were when.
Who
Okay.
you are.
Now, I'm gonna have to ask this question now, Lavenda. Okay. I know Mama Rosa listening. So, Mama Rosa, what did you do to make Papa cry like that? You, hey, she busted his heart, didn't she?
Well,
Mama Rosa.
you did say matters of the heart. Matters of
I
the
did.
heart.
I did.
Yeah,
I did. It matters of the heart.
yeah.
Or no, or for an example, Rock, Barack Obama got elected president. Oh God, I'm so glad. Do they do that? Or the preacher doing a good sermon. He break the whole law. He did a great sermon today. So come on now, help me out here. Which is acceptable and which is not? if you got that kind of person, I know these kinds of people, they would tear up at at anything. Okay, and so that's their vulnerability. Now, how much respect would you have for a man that can just cry on the drop of a dime?
At the
Okay,
drop
go
of
ahead.
a dime,
So
you
what
know,
now?
you got a little bit more. I don't know, Vernon. I don't
See,
know. I have
well,
close
okay, you're making my point there. You're making my point about
friends.
women because you typifies what women thinks. So that's
I
why we hide these vulnerabilities, sugar.
I have close friends, male friends, who are sensitive men
Okay.
and unafraid to share if they're hurting. I don't know. And you know what? We are what we attract also. A lot of times we attract that same type of vulnerability. I don't know. It's just
Uh,
really no. I can remember one time that I actually had to tell someone to enough is enough. It was just too much, actually 2 or 3 times. And that's only because I just couldn't take it no more. You know, it's like, okay, come on, get it together. Get it together. But it wasn't that they were crying over, it wasn't a matter of the heart. It was something serious. But even then, you know, I don't know, maybe I'm just a hard ass. You
get
cry,
over it now.
you got to get ready for the next blow. You can't stay in that blow. You know, you got to get ready for the next round of life. You can't be in the ring like a boxing match and be scared to put your gloves up and you know you get knocked out and you want to lay there because you're scared to get up because you might get hit again. You will get hit again in life. But if that's how you deal with it, you can't change people.
Right. Exactly. So
And
what's
it's somebody
wrong
for
with them?
everybody.
So what's wrong with them boohooing like that? What's the
Ain't
problem
nothing,
with
ain't nothing wrong with it. Just don't do it around me.
that? See, now that's what I'm saying.
Not all
Making my whole you
day.
making my whole point for me again. You're making my whole point. It's okay.
I am not making your
Vulnerabilities.
I am not making your point. You are trying to make it seem like there are men out there who just cry all day at the drop of a dime. There's no men
What
out
I
there
do?
doing that in public, Vernon. And if they do it, that's their makeup. Their chemistry. That's how they're wired. That's not the average man. Okay, well he may be dealing with something. Let's keep it on the average. The people that we deal with
Okay.
every day. You deal with somebody who cries all the time. You probably tell me, hey man, you might need to go get some medicine or you get that checked out. You might be dealing with something. A friend would say that because it's just not. You know, they do have. I don't even know what it's called. Someone that cries all the time at the drop of a dime. That is it can be diagnosed. I
It's,
forgot what it is.
some people get those as a syndrome. Isn't a what they call a vulnerable syndrome that people can go through like that?
It's something. I saw one of those commercials a long time ago. Cry or laugh and uncontrollably, and you can't stop it. Shoot, even in menopause, women going through menopause, they can cry over the drop of anything. They can see a commercial and start boo-hooing, but that's because of a phase, a stage. That's just not who they are. You know,
But if it were, but if
huh?
it were, but if it were,
If
so
it was
isn't
nothing,
it okay if it were?
of course. Why wouldn't it be? Why wouldn't it be if you can deal with all the
Because
other
why
and
wouldn't it
that,
be? Because of folks like you. If that same person, you would not give them a chance in a relationship, right? If they
hmm?
start boohooing,
Say that again.
I'm in a relationship. You meet a person, right? And you know early on that their vulnerabilities. And in fact, one of the vulnerabilities might be to cry, right? And just cry at the drop of a hat. So would
Uh,
you would so so knowing that enough is enough for you after a certain amount of time, but it might not be for them. Would you seriously consider a relationship with a man that you know is a crier?
I would have to know the man, Vernon. Him crying is not going to make me make my decision. I would have to know the man. Surely him being a crier is not the essence of that man's character. He cries. Okay. You a millionaire? I can deal with your tears. I'm just being funny. I'm just being
No,
funny.
you would.
If
No,
a person,
you were being
you don't
serious.
judge a person by their vulnerability. You don't judge a person by their vulnerability. We were talking about, can you be vulnerable? And why wouldn't you want to be vulnerable? It's like, who's
Mhm.
going to call who first? Remember, we had a conversation about that.
Yeah.
What is the big deal is being the person who's always calling. Oh, well, they don't call me, so I'm not going to call them. You know, that's some sick, some silly stuff that we do, but we don't want to be the one to show that we want to talk to you.
Ah, now you go now. So you on it now. Cause you saying that because you showing weakness if you pick up that phone to call first, right? So
That's
I'm
what
not
we
going to.
see the thing,
Right, right. So that's what
or
the
it's
perception
pride,
is.
or it's pride.
Right. Yeah. Pride is a mother now. You know that pride. And a lot of things, pride and vulnerability go hand in hand because really that's why a lot of people don't show some of their vulnerabilities because of pride. Okay. And just like you said, you call it, like I said, a rose by any other name is still a rose. Okay. Now it's just like the conversation you said about if you don't call me, I'm not going to call you, or if you we had some issue, I'm not going to be the first one to call to make up. And, because that's showing on you, to me, that's showing that you're vulnerable or you're weak or whatever. So you let pride get in your way of doing what you know that you really need to do. But you know what I say about pride, uh,
Go ahead,
Amanda?
because
I
I got to
say
answer for that. Go ahead.
pride is just like I hear black folks say this all the time. I ain't gonna work for McDonald's. I'm not gonna work for McDonald's, and for even though they're paying $10, $15 now, I'm not gonna work for them because it's just this idea. They're too prideful to work, but they ain't too proud to get free money from the government. You want to be proud. They collect unemployment. They collect a welfare, but they don't want to work for a decent job. All I'm saying to you is that just like pride in relationships, it's the same way that pride in everything else. At the end of the day, that's the only thing you have is pride. Pride don't pay any bill. Pride don't make your heart grow fonder. Pride don't do any other kind of stuff but cause you pain in your life. And so
But
why
listen,
can't you just kick pride ass?
no, go back to what you were saying about being the first to call and the vulnerability. Now, I'm not talking about if you are just hooking up with someone or just meeting someone and you waiting to call. What if you have shown vulnerability? What if you all have been in a relationship for years? You've shown vulnerability. You've called. You've always been the first to call. You've always been the first to call. And then finally, you just say, okay, well, obviously, they don't feel the same way, so I'm not going to call again. That's not being afraid to be vulnerable. That's just having
Pride.
some
That's
kind of,
pride. Pride.
no, it's having some kind of sense. Why are you going to keep calling somebody that's not returning your call? They may not want to talk to you. Open up your eyes. They may not feel the same way about you. So you
Exactly.
can say it's pride and say I'm not. Maybe that person doesn't feel the same way about you.
True. That's true. Now I give you that. I give you that point now, Lavender. But that's what folks don't want to face up to the fact that they realize that they don't want to be always the one that's calling because if the person never calls you, that means that says something, right? That says something to you. you the only one that doing the calling all of the time, and they can't pick up the phone at any time. Just wait on your lead, or maybe one of the things you have to consider as well too. Now, if that's one of the things that that you started off with, what I said, what you sign up for in a relationship is one of those kinds of things you probably have to live with along the way because that's what you signed up for. If you was the only one, if you was doing 80% of the calling, okay, so that person kind of expect continue that 80%, hearing from you 80% of the time, and they'll call you 20% of the time, right? So now you got in that relationship. Now you want to change the game, change the rules, and now okay, now you're in there. Now I want this 50-50 instead of 80-20. But that could be that way if y'all establish those ground rules somewhere along the way, okay? But all of a sudden, you're gonna do 80% of the calling, and you wake up one night and say, "Damn, I'm doing all this calling, so I'm just never gonna call him again." And so he doesn't call you, you doesn't call him, he doesn't call you, he doesn't call him, he doesn't call. You know what I'm saying? It becomes that is a matter of pride, or maybe he does call you and you won't answer the phone. Then what? Because that's a matter of pride. Pride is, and like I said, I'm telling you, it's one of the worst enemies. Pride is one of the worst enemies of any relationship because it
But what
serves
about
pride.
a relationship? What about the beginning of a relationship? You meet someone, you exchange phone numbers,
Uh-huh.
and I'm gonna see if he calls me. What difference does it make? What difference? Oh, I'm gonna wait 3 days. I'm gonna wait 2 days. I won't call her on Monday. I'm gonna call her on Wednesday. What difference
Mhm.
does it make? That's showing
Well,
vulnerability. Hey, I was so
well,
excited.
okay. You know what though, Levin, you make a very good point there. Okay, I want to ask you that question. And since we're talking about relationship, if you meet somebody tonight, okay, and you exchange phone numbers for an example, okay, now who should be the first one to call? You're not gonna call him, and he's not gonna call you. What the reason? Let me tell you my reason that I wouldn't call. And then from a woman's point of view, I want you to tell you your reason that you wouldn't call. Now, my reason would be if we exchange phone numbers, I would want to know if she was in. I probably would eventually call, but I would want to know if she's interested in enough in me. If she make the first call, if she make the first call, then I know that she's
Game.
interested.
It's a
Okay. Now,
game.
huh?
It is a game. Just
Yeah, well,
call.
so what? That that's the part of the relationship. It's a game. Absolutely, it's a game. That's just
Okay,
how it's been played.
so
Now,
that's
wait
what
a minute. Now, answer my question though. Hang on now. Before you get deep into it, what would you do if we exchanged phone numbers? Okay, if I didn't call you, was interested, but I didn't call you. Okay, and you got my phone number, and you waiting on me to call first. Would you ever pick up that phone?
I would definitely text or something. I've done that before. I've
Okay.
done that before.
Okay. Well, that's
Where,
well, that's good. Well, but
because
then,
you know
but
what?
you answered my question though. But you answered my question because I'm waiting on a sign to see if she really interested. If you text me,
And she may be waiting on the
I'll,
sign too. So y'all waiting, just waiting. Both of y'all interested in each other. You waiting, she waiting.
I
That's
okay.
crazy.
Well, suppose both of you so full of pride that neither one of you would ever pick up the phone.
Or
And
let's
see,
put it this
that's what my
way.
point about pride is. You
Let's
wouldn't you
take
so
out
proud.
pride. Let's take out pride. They're afraid of rejection. They're afraid to be
Yeah,
vulnerable. They're afraid to
yeah.
put their emotions out there. So they're protecting themselves, guarding themselves. So they're just gonna, I'm gonna see. Like you said, I'm gonna see. You know what? Like I said, Vernon, at my age, I ain't got long to see. How long I'm gonna wait and see? Till I'm in my doggone
Lavender,
rocking chair. So it's like you waiting
Lavender.
precious days and minutes. because based on something that happened to you in the past, what this new person is having to pay for your fear of rejection because of what you've gone through. Well, this may be the one person that you can be vulnerable with, but I don't know. I don't know. I
Okay,
don't have.
but but you know what? You're making a great point about. And I think that's probably you put your finger on it. That's probably the reason a lot of them don't do it because the fear of rejection. That's what it boils down to. Both men and women suffers from the fear of rejection. Remember we talked about the the Friday night dance, walking across that gym floor. Remember we talking about that?
Yes,
My
yes,
guys don't like to walk across that gym floor and ask the girl to dance, and then she turns his black ass down. Then he have to walk all the way back across that floor with his buddies laughing at him. And then you turn around and she dances with somebody else. That fear, that kind of fear rejection, and I think we all, men and women, both fear that rejection. Nobody likes to be rejected. Nobody. Like I don't care what level it's on. If it even for an example, if you and your husband been married 15 years. He come home one night and says, "Okay, Levin, let's get it on." Or you says, "Let's get it on," and he said, "No, I don't feel like it, baby. I got a headache." Now, it ain't about that you got a headache. It's about that you rejected him, or he rejected you. That's why people get upset about things.
all the time. Headaches happen every Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night. That happens all the time. But you all have
You, but you
always.
understand why he gets mad, right? He gets mad because not because you reject him for sex. He got mad with you because of rejection, not necessarily because of the sex.
You just man or woman. A woman can be rejected also for whatever
Right?
reason.
Exactly.
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 Yeah.
I think
And
we
so
all
if you
figure that.
get a husband out of that, that's such a completely different case. It ain't even fair to wind down Wednesday because that is a completely odd case. Completely odd. But you mentioned,
We're talking about your boyfriend. Then we won't talk about your husband. If he
uh,
rejected you, then if your boyfriend if your boyfriend if your boyfriend rejected you and said, "Come on, baby, I ain't seen you in 2 weeks. Let it go," and he said, "No, I got a headache," you're gonna get mad at him. It ain't. I don't think you're getting mad at him because of the sex part. You just get mad because he rejected you.
you don't know. No, you don't know what the person is going to do, Vernon. You just assume that people are going to be cookie cutter actions and say, oh, well, if they say no, they don't get angry. Everybody's not wired that way. Everybody's just not going to respond the same way.
Do you like to
Hello?
be rejected? Do you like to be
No,
rejected?
be rejected, but it
Okay,
happens. You know what helped me in
all the time.
rejection? You know what helped me with rejection?
What?
Unbelievable. Network marketing. I have been in so many network marketing businesses. Every no gets me closer to my yes. No, rejection does not phase. I'm not going to say it doesn't phase me. It does phase me, but not nearly as much as it used to. A no is a no. A no is a word. It's a two-letter word. It ain't. It don't even make three. It's a two-letter word. It happened in that moment. Okay, the next moment, I may have a yes. That no is history. You can hold on to a no and hold a grudge and be upset. Life is passing by. The minutes are ticking. I don't know what it is about this gray hair, but it has enlightened me about what really matters. And I think I told you, even the last week, Vernon, I have had a couple of conversations with people that just completely, we're always evolving, but it helps me to realize life a little bit more than I did the day before. Life is so
Mhm.
precious. Friends are so precious. Family is so precious. And with all this that's going on in the world, And we already knew that, shoot, tomorrow is not promised. The next minute is not promised. So quit all the BS. I'm gonna let you know how I feel. If you don't respond, so what? Your loss. Because I know what I'm bringing to the table. I'm not responsible for your actions. I'm not responsible for your. I just recently told a good friend of mine how I felt. Hey, I love you. I hadn't seen you. I miss you. So what? If they don't respond like I want to, I let you know how I felt. That's my only responsibility. So if I'm ever in a relationship again, if a man shows some interest in me, I have to be vulnerable from the jump. I have to let him know. I don't have time. You see this gray hair? I ain't got time to play no games. How many years you want to play games? Are you interested in me or are you interested in what I can give you? What do you want from me? Let's be
Okay. How do you, Lavender? I hear you, and you big on not wanting to play games, but sometimes you don't have any choice in it. But again, how do you can't avoid the game playing? It's just a natural part. It's just a natural order of this thing.
Yes, you can avoid it. Yes, you can. We make a choice to play that game. Yes,
No,
we
you
can.
don't.
And you know what? My mother actually said something similar to what you said. Uh,
Cause your mother's smart like me.
we were talking about as we get older, you don't know what your spouse might run into. You might turn into a nursemaid for them. And I said, well, I ain't gonna be nobody's nursemaid. And she's like, Brenda, you can't help that. And I said, yes, I can. All I got to do is say no when he asks me to marry him. I got complete control over that. No. I know that
I
sounds
can see
silly.
why your boy gonna already preparing to put you in the nursing home. But go ahead.
But you know what, brother?
Finish your thought now. I
When you,
had to throw
when
that
you
in.
listen, when you say you can't avoid the games,
Right.
Vernon, I am in my late 50s. I have had so many games played on me. You say I can't avoid the games. I will stop a game in its track if I choose to. If I choose to play, I'll play. Let me tell you about something that happened to me. Going to a gas station. I pull up to get gas. I'm in my car. I haven't even got out of my car yet. But I opened the door and I'm still getting my card out or whatever I was doing. I might have been on the phone, I don't know. And I hear a voice next to me saying, hello there, how are you doing, ma'am? So I'm thinking, somebody talking to me? I haven't even gotten out the car yet. So I get out the car and say, hello, how are you? Are you married? Just like that. I guess he didn't have time to. Look, I'm pumping gas. I ain't got one. I need to know if you're married or not. So I said, no, I'm not. Why do you ask? Why we're out here pumping gas? Well, I'm widowed, and I just wanted to know, what church do you go to? Well, damn. See, this man was putting it out. He was putting it out that he wanted to know. Ask what? I didn't go to church. Why you don't go to church? So I really don't think this is a conversation that we can have at the gas pump right now. Did you need something else? I'm not trying to be ugly.
Come by tonight.
Huh?
Nothing. Go ahead. I was just coming in this conversation. You can't have the gas station, but you come by tonight. We can discuss it a little bit later. But go ahead. I'm just messing with you, girl.
He asked for my number, and I did not want to give him my number. I just
Uh
didn't.
huh.
You know,
Okay.
taken the number and played some games with him, but I knew I was not interested from the jump. So why play the games? Why play the
So what did you
games?
do? I want to
Huh?
know what did you do? What did you do? How did you handle that?
I just told you I didn't want to exchange numbers. I'm
When
just,
he asked you for your number, what you tell him? Get the hell out your face.
I just said no. I'd rather not. No, thank you. Thank you. Give me
Okay.
something. I try to be as polite as possible, and he pushed it, but no. I could have played the game right there. But you do have a choice on playing games, Vernon. Come on. Vernon, we almost 80 years old. You talking about we ain't got no choice to play
Who
no
you
game.
calling 80?
It's time out for all that BS. It is time out. At my age, all I want is some integrity.
Okay, let me ask you this question, Lavender. Then, okay, all right. If you didn't want to play that game, you could have just got out of your car. Number one, you could have just ignored him altogether. Number two, you could have listen. No, no, listen at me. Listen at me. Listen at me. Number two, you could have just shut him down and says, "I'm not interested." Period. Okay. But you chose to engage a conversation with him, probably 4 or 5 minutes.
Engaging in a conversation. I start conversations with people every day. I'm not trying to get in your doggone pants. And if you think I am, that's their problem. So I wasn't thinking this man was, well, yeah, I was.
But the point is, you played his game. You played his game. All the 20 questions. You didn't have to answer. You didn't have to go through the 20-question game.
Buttons, because you know good and well, if I had shut the man down with his first hello, ma'am, you see, you shouldn't do this. I got to be who I am. I'm going to be polite to you. I don't have a problem.
I get you. I hear you. Your point is well taken. All I'm trying to say to you, whether you want to believe this or not, okay, you do play games, and that was a game that you played with him, whether you want to admit that or not. So you might not define it as games in your dictionary.
But definition of game and my definition of game, we play chess a little bit differently. Okay, I play by the rules, you cheat.
I had to tell you that I play chess and you play checkers. But you're not gonna avoid the game, sugar. I hate to tell you that. You're not gonna avoid the game. That's just the game is a part of the whole process.
Okay.
You got to go through all of that stuff. You remember we talked about, and I wrote this in my book about how many frogs you have to kiss before you find that prince. All those are games. That's the process that we have to go through in order to get to point A to point Z. Okay.
Well, maybe just a play on words. You're calling them games.
Mm-hmm.
It's a process to get to know someone. But I'm saying if there's an attraction there, it doesn't have to be. And maybe I'm just too straightforward.
Naive. You're too naive. You're too naive to believe it. Yeah.
Well, you always say, I never noticed when a man was trying to talk to me. I never got it. It just went over. If you're interested in me, tell me. Why are you going all around the mulberry bush?
Okay, we're not calling any names, Lavender. We're not calling any names, okay? Don't you slip up either, because I don't want to get nobody in trouble. But remember at the station, and there are several men in that station, you knew, well, one of them you claim you didn't know, okay? But you knew, even though they didn't directly hit on you, you know what games they were trying to play. Am I right? You know that they was trying several men at that station that come in and out of that station was playing games with you.
No. There's only one. There's only one guy who came by that radio station once a week to drop something off. And it was valid. I mean, whatever he was doing, he had to drop it off. And he would talk, and we'll talk. I promise you, Verna, I wasn't thinking anything until he asked something. And I said, and I was so angry. I remember being at the file cabinet. I was so angry. I turned it around and I said, I thought you said we were just going to be friends. He said, we are. I just thought maybe we could go. No. See, he was playing a game. If you're interested, say it. I don't get hints.
But that's my point. That's my point about games. You remember that fella I told you that you would act surprised by? I don't think you were as surprised as you probably knew. But you remember that fella I told you that you said, "Ooh, him? I can't believe that he was trying." You remember I told you, you remember, you know who I'm talking about, don't
I
you?
was surprised. Vernon, I
Okay.
never thought about it. Never
Okay.
in a million years would I have thought that. I
Okay.
didn't.
Now, my point, no, let me just make my point about that. Okay. You're talking about you participated in that game and didn't even know that you were participating in that game. That's all my point to you is that and you never knew until, and this was years later. We just discussed this probably within the last 4 or 5 months, right? That you knew that what he was trying to do. You didn't know what he was trying to do. And in fact, his game was so good that he had you on the wrong track. Okay. Remember, but we'll talk about
Game
that. But all I'm saying to you
was
is
jacked up.
games.
His game was jacked up because he was married. So I didn't think he was had the nerve or the audacity to play a game. Now I
Oh,
told you I
come
felt
on.
like I was living under a
But
rock.
that's probably why he was playing it, Lavender, because he
That's
was
what I'm
married.
saying. I was living under a rock until I started working at that
Yeah.
radio. I'm serious. I woke up. You talking about wake up? What? I'm woke now. That radio station woke me up. I'm
So you don't
serious. I
think
had no
you don't
clue.
you don't okay,
Yeah,
can I give you another can I give you another case in point about game playing we
yeah.
discussed not so long ago,
Go
probably a
ahead.
couple of weeks ago, about a friend's far away games. All those games, but you participating in it.
But didn't I tell you last week was enlightening to me, and I have a
Okay,
choice
I heard
whether
that.
to
I heard. We don't. No, I don't want to discuss that on air. But all I'm trying to get you to the point of game people play. We play all. They play all kinds of games. Whether you playing willingly or not, or knowingly or not, it's just a part of the process. And people have to understand that game playing the process. And games are not all bad. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes we look at it as being bad, but it's not necessarily bad, but it could be bad. You know, it's just like basketball. That's a good game that you want to play games. But in relationship, it's the same thing. Sometimes people play games to be deviant, but other people play games, to try to gain what they want from a relationship. So, but
and
it's
that's
all a
being
part of the
vulnerable,
process.
and that is being vulnerable. Letting that person know your needs, your wants. And so I guess, and maybe that's the word that I just don't like, the game. Games are for children. Maybe it's part of the process. Part of the
Okay,
process
and I
of,
think that's what you hung up on the definition about game is for children. But going back to what you said earlier, I don't have to put words back in your mouth. You told me a couple of times before, men ain't nothing but grown up boys,
yeah,
just big boys. So
yeah,
what you expect? Well, you know what they say. The different ain't nothing different about a man and his toys, but the price of his toys. He still plays whatever, plays with his toys. He got a little truck now. He got a big truck that he paying lots of money for. Okay, it's no difference. None of that stuff is any different. So we play it. So we have to come to a point of accepting these things and knowing, on how to manage them. That's all I can
yeah.
say. You can't get rid of them because that just it's all built. I know what it is, Lavender. What you got to do is you just have to know how to play it, just like playing checkers or chess, right? You have to be able to 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 master the game. You have to be able to play that game better than your opponent. Okay, but you're not going to say it doesn't exist or I'm not going to play the game. You're not going to take the checkerboard and just throw it over when something happens because the next opponent going to bring the same checkerboard. Okay, so you got to learn how to play that game better than they do because it's,
Okay,
it's
so
there.
now the next time I'm approached, I'm going to be thinking with the first words out of that man's mouth. I don't care what question he asks me or what he says. In my mind, he's saying, "Would you like to engage in a game?"
Yeah, yeah. Well, like I said, but you know the difference now. That's only going to apply to men that you initially not attracted to. Okay. Now, if you was attracted to that man, you play that game all day long. Okay. But even if you're not attracted, you play the game to get out of it just like you did do it. But if he was attracted to you, oh yeah, you play that game all night long plus. So next time you meet that man, okay, if you really didn't want to have any conversation with him, won't you stop? Don't play the game. Just cut it short. And then he gonna probably call you a stuck up bitch, but that's okay because he
Oh,
would probably be right.
and you're right. You are so right. Mama always says, Linda, you don't let the right one get away because I turned everybody down. But like I said, Vernon, I'm tired of the games. I'm vulnerable. I'm tired of the games. Wouldn't it be just wonderful? And you always say, I live in a fantasy world. That's the world I want to live in. That's the world I'm going to die in. It's my world. Is to meet someone that you can be open with, vulnerable with, have honesty, whether it hurts or not, just
He's
share
out
the
there.
truth with one another. And oh my God, what a beautiful, I'll jump for a relationship like that. Where you can be yourself and be vulnerable, both
But you
parties. Oh my
but you're looking
God.
for perfection.
Mm.
You're looking for something that doesn't exist.
No, I said whether it's good or bad, being truthful. Just be truthful. And
Okay,
like you
I,
said,
I
but
grant you
then here's
that.
the thing. Wait a minute, you said it doesn't exist. So are you saying that
Perfection,
I'm wait
perfection.
a
No,
minute,
no, no, no,
let
no.
me
Don't get
finish
me
my
wrong.
question. You said it does not exist. So and
Perfection doesn't exist.
say what?
Perfection doesn't exist.
Okay, you say I know perfection does. You said I'm looking for something that doesn't exist. I'm not
Which
looking
is
for
perfection.
perfection. Nothing is. That's not perfection. Wanting honesty, wanting vulnerability. So what you're saying, this is what I'm trying to ask you. What you're
Mhm.
saying is that I'm the only human being in the world. It doesn't. Wait. Let me finish. I'm the only human being in the world who wants to be vulnerable and open in a relationship. You're saying that doesn't exist. So what does that make me?
A little special and make you to wait on that little short bus. That's what it make you. Yeah,
You are
because
crazy.
the reality of it, you asking people, you trying to ask folks to say not to be to ever lie to you, not to be you asking
No,
for a perfect you asking for a perfect relationship. There's no such thing as that
no,
perfect
Vernon,
relationship.
you don't listen to me. I said whether it's good or bad,
Okay,
to be honest. I'm
I
not
agree with
asking.
that. Now I agree with that, Lavender. If you know me, I always told you the truth works. Okay, if you
Yes.
be honest up front, you can deal with the truth. You just can't deal with lies, but you can deal with the truth. You can work with the truth, but you just can't work with lies. Is all I'm saying to you. And I
Everybody
think we
doesn't
might be
lie.
saying this. I think we might be saying the same thing. If you can
Uh-huh.
find a relationship that give you 80% truth, you're not gonna get 100% out of anything or anybody. If you got somebody that's 80% truthful to you, go for it. But go ahead.
I'll finish. I said what I had
Okay.
to
All right.
say.
So, but listening to you and listen not only to you, but I hear other women say the same kinds of things, Lavenda, that you looking. I feel like y'all looking for utopia. Okay, you're not gonna find utopia with anybody, a man, woman, or whatever. Okay, you don't expect a man to be true to you, not to lie to you. All those things will happen. Okay, now how it happened and when it happened probably more important to you, but
Vernon,
it will happen.
absolutely not. We are not looking for utopia. We're just looking for a man who does not cheat and got to sneak around and will be honest with you.
That's utopia.
You can tell the little white lies.
That's a
Everybody
little.
wants to say a little white lie. You telling me there's not a man out there that can match a woman who wants to be honest and faithful? Vernon, every man does not.
You
Thank goodness.
making you
Because if
you
I
just
listen to
making this
you, If I
You
look
just
at
making
you,
an
I will have
assumption,
no choice.
Lavender. You making
I
the
will
assumption
have
that all women are
no
honest. That's
choice.
not true. You
What's
making
not
that
true?
assumption that all women is different than men. Women is no different than men.
I
Y'all suffer
agree
from the
with
same
that.
kind of thing that we suffer from. We expect the same kind of things from women. We don't always get that either.
Well, y'all meeting the wrong women because I know plenty of women who would
Bullshit.
love. Oh gosh, you hanging with the
Bullshit.
wrong women.
Bullshit. What I'm
And I
saying, though, I know it. Again, that's the wish list. I don't grant. I don't. I think you're right. I think that's the wish list. But what you wish for in one hand and what you get in the other is two different things. Okay,
okay,
all I'm trying to tell you.
so again, you're saying that I'm the only human being who will be faithful and loving.
You not
People.
Lavender.
So but
You
listen,
won't
listen,
even be. You won't even. You won't even be faithful. Let me. I'm
listen. No,
telling
no,
you.
no,
Let
stop,
me
stop.
tell
I'm
you
gonna
now.
let you
I
finish.
tell
I'm
you
gonna
my honest
you
opinion
guys
about
listen
this.
to
Okay,
me.
you know the
I'm gonna
difference
remind
between people that cheat and
you.
don't cheat is opportunity. Okay, that's the difference.
Listen, this is what you told me when
Okay,
I started working at the radio station. I
okay.
was talking to you about the marriage, and I was telling you how I was faithful for 20 years. For
Hmm.
20 years, I was faithful. Never thought, besides Denzel, never thought about another man. I was faithful. And do you remember
Never
what your response was?
bullshit. I don't know what I
No,
can't remember what my response was, but you
I
just
will
said
never.
you just said yourself and all except for Denzel.
I will never forget your response. You
What
said,
would I say? What did I say?
and look where it got you. And look where it got you. So to be faithful in a marriage, to be that loving wife, that
Of
woman,
course, you know I didn't believe you, don't you?
huh?
You know I didn't believe you.
It doesn't matter if you don't believe me or not. I'm not faithful for anybody but myself. You ain't my God, for one. I didn't care if you believed me. Lavender was faithful. Lavender was faithful. And like when I said,
We
and
got to get Lavender's definition of what faithful is.
my God, now men got a different definition of faithful. Let's talk about that. That's another show. We got another
All right.
definition
Well,
of
can
faithful.
I remind you? Can I
I was
remind you of one of the
exclusive.
very first shows? Listen at me for a minute.
Exclusive in my marriage.
Remember
I'm
remember one of the very first shows that we done, maybe the second or third show we did about um having a friendship, like you said it was cheating if you had what we called it,
platonic relationship.
a what now,
Platonic relationship.
a platonic relationship. You said that was cheating
Vernon,
when
I
you
had no
had,
male friends. I had no male friends to have a platonic relationship in the 20 years I was married. Every friend that I had in the military that contacted me when I was married, they were shut down. Not by choice. Not by choice. But I bet you one thing, every one of them came around when I got divorced. Hallelujah. Back at you, buddy. See, a friend will
toot,
always
toot.
be there. Toot, toot. A friend. A friend. And you know what? I said that before we got married. Be my friend, because a husband will leave you, but a friend will always be there. And I'll be doggone if that ain't true, because every friend, and I think I made a Facebook post thanking all of my friends who understood when I was caged and could not contact them, but they were there for me when I was set free. That's a book right there. That's look at you. I got you all in your emotions.
Just tell me what can I stop? Cry. You think I believe all that bullshit you saying?
Oh my
All
goodness.
right, to tell you like I tell most folks when I don't agree with them, I tell you, I hear you. I hear
So
you.
what?
I hear you.
Uh-huh. That's unbelievable to you, huh? That somebody can be with one person for 20 years.
That what you
Like you
say?
said, I'm
That what you
special.
say?
I'm a gift.
That's your
I'm a,
story, and you sticking with it.
I'm a gift. I am a gift to any man. I'm a gift. Faithful for 20 years. And yeah, I'm proud of it. But like you said, look where it got me. Divorced.
You got you divorced. You could have
Huh?
stayed in that misery. You could have stayed in that misery for another 20 years if you wanted to. You said
Mm-mm.
by choice. Remember?
You're right. And lose and miss all of this. Happiness. What's that song? Who sings that song? What is it? Love, joy, sunshine, joy.
Ah, and pain. What about the pain?
Oh
Frankie
my
Beverly tell you about joy and pain, and wasn't going to tell you about
goodness.
fire and desire.
I
So
have to
you
write.
know,
But yes, vulnerability. As we prepare to close, vulnerability is truly sharing all of your emotions, your
you're
thoughts,
right.
and
You
your
sure got me
feelings.
crying, sugar. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just okay. Go ahead, sugar. Go ahead.
What are you laughing
Oh,
at?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, it was me last week. It's you this week. No.
Are you still there?
I'm here.
I
Oh
just,
boy.
oh Lord, just I had to mess with you, sugar. I just had to mess with you. Okay, go ahead with your wrap up
Okay,
about
so we
the
are
about
closing.
vulnerabilities.
Yes, vulnerability. It is sharing yourself, going all in, thoughts, emotions in a relationship. And experts say that that is a key to true intimacy. A true intimate relationship is to be able to be vulnerable. However, when you are vulnerable, know that you're basically putting yourself at risk of
Hmm.
rejection, being frustrated, disappointment, all of that, because we're human beings. We're flawed. We like to judge. That's who we are. You know, if you're a little different than me or you belong on a short bus. At least that's what you say, Vernon. So if you think other than Vernon, he thinks you should be on the short bus. Vernon is right. He is an expert. He is writing his book of love. He's got all the answers. And if you don't agree, get with me and we'll get on the short bus because he doesn't think we are worthy of being on the bus with him.
What I really think is that uh, just keeping it real. I know life is a bitch, okay, and then you die, okay. All I know is that there's no perfection in life. No, we like one thing, we want one thing, but there's just
There's no
actions
what
out
in
there.
Vernon? There's no what?
There's no guarantees in life. We want one
Oh,
thing, but it's
yeah,
but to get to that road, there's a lot of traps in the road before you
yeah.
get there. Okay, and whether you and that I think that's where the vulnerability comes in at because you're very vulnerable to some of those traps that's in the road, and know that going in is all I can tell people about in a relationship. I don't want folks to think that they can go in anything and expect utopia or perfection, and I don't think that most folks do, but knowing sometime when you're in love you have these bright-eyed future think that everything going to be Camelot, but it's not going to be Camelot. You're gonna slay a lot of dragons before you get there, and you're gonna be a moat around that castle. You're gonna be a lot of things. The alligators they have to contend with, the knights, and all those other folks and the witches and all the other things you have to deal with to get to this Camelot. So don't expect roses, Rosie. Hey, but anyway, the only one your daddy can only can expect Rosie. But anyhow, that's all I'm saying, Lavender, is that it's those vulnerabilities are there. Be careful in how you manage your vulnerabilities because sometimes they can be used against you and sometimes they can be used for you. But just know the difference. Just know how you be able to manage that. And if you got certain vulnerabilities, sometimes you got to guard against them because sometimes folks don't understand your vulnerabilities, and sometimes other folks do. But one of the things I want to leave you with, I think that the beginning of any healing of that kind of stuff is truth. Let's lay it on the line. If you got certain vulnerability with somebody that you trust and that you want to have a relationship with, then I just lay it out on the table and let them and then take it from there. But if you don't lay it out on the table up front, then you start showing those vulnerabilities later on, then you that's a recipe for disaster, I think. So just lay everything out up front. That's my whole point.
Exactly. Lay it out there at the front.
Yeah.
Lay it out there in the beginning.
Yeah.
That's right. And like you said, if someone wants to use it against you, that's their loss. At least you haven't wasted any time.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
got gray hair. You have time. Don't waste my time. Don't waste my time. I don't mind being in a relationship. Don't waste my time. After all I've been through, I might hurt somebody. Don't waste my time.
You
Okay,
and you
we're
will
out here.
you will hurt somebody. Poor man, I hate to see the next man come to your life. No, you're gonna get hurt in a lot of ways. Okay, Lavender, our time is almost. We got about 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes to get out of here. So I guess we better wrap it up with folks that listening. And if we have it in, because I'm hearing myself in the background, so I know we probably got some technicalities, but don't worry about it because we eventually fix it along the way. So we're not uh, professionals along the way here. But one thing I do want you to do, though, if you will, I want you to subscribe to Lavender's and my YouTube channels. Please do that because it helps us. The analytics helps us. Please like us on Facebook, even if you don't like us anyway. Okay, it helps us out. Okay, so don't. Good thing they ain't got one that said hate you, but they do got a thumbs down. Don't they got a thumbs down and a thumbs up thing? But anyhow, but like us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And hopefully we're gonna want to be taking calls and video phone calls and video calls on future show. Excuse me. Hope that ain't Corona.
That's
But
not
we got
COVID.
I hope that ain't Corona. Right there. But anyway, on future shows, we want to be able to get a little more interactive with us. Okay, so we'll be able to take telephone calls and video calls as well if you're interested in getting involved with our conversation here. All right, Lavender, I'll turn it back over to you, and we'll close it out. Okay.
Okay, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you so much for dropping by. Please like our Facebook page, The Wind Down Wednesday with the Other Woman. And we'll see you next Wednesday at 9 p.m. Central. Alrighty.